Sarah Chen walked through the massive corridors of Nexus Prime, her boots clicking against the strange metal floors. The Galactic Council building towered above her like a mountain made of crystal and steel. Alien beings moved around her, some floating, others walking on 6 legs, a few that looked like living clouds of gas. All of them ignored the small human woman in the simple black suit. She had been Earth's ambassador for 3 years now. 3 years of sitting in meetings where aliens talked about humanity like they were children who needed protection. 3 years of watching her people get treated like pets in a zoo. 3 years of keeping her mouth shut while the galaxy made decisions that affected everyone, except the ones making them. The council chamber was huge. Seats rose up in circles, each one designed for different alien bodies. The Vorthak sat in, their crystal chairs, their bodies looking like living diamonds. The Etherians floated in special containers filled with the gas they needed to survive. The Zephyrians clicked and buzzed in their metal seats, their insect-like bodies shining under the lights. Sarah took her place in the small human section. Just one chair. Earth got 1 vote out of 300. The other species called this fair because humans were new to galactic society. 50 years was nothing to beings who lived for thousands of years. The emergency session was about the Chromark Empire. For months, the militaristic aliens had been attacking worlds on the edge of the galaxy. They used massive ships and powerful weapons to destroy anyone who fought back. Whole planets had gone quiet. Billions of aliens were dead or missing. Chantir, Vorthak speaker's voice rang like broken glass. The Chromark have taken 12 more systems. They demand tribute from all nearby worlds. We must respond with economic sanctions. Economic sanctions. Sarah almost laughed. The Chromark were burning planets, and the galaxy's response was to stop trading with them. It was like trying to stop a forest fire by asking it nicely to go away. The Etherian representative spoke next, their voice like wind through caves. We propose a strongly worded message, perhaps a formal complaint to their government. The debate went on for hours. The aliens talked about diplomatic protests, trade restrictions, and formal procedures. They spoke in careful words about proper channels and following protocol. Nobody talked about actually fighting back. Nobody mentioned saving the people who were dying while they debated. Sarah watched the news feeds on her tablet. The Chromark had just attacked the Eldorian homeworld. The peaceful blue planet was covered in beautiful cities and gardens. 12 billion gentle beings lived there, spending their lives creating art and poetry. They had no weapons, no armies. They believed that beauty and kindness could solve any problem. The attack lasted 6 hours. When it was over, Aldoria was a burned rock floating in space. 12 billion voices silenced forever. The Chromarks broadcast their victory across the galaxy as a warning to anyone who might resist them. Sarah stood up. Her chair made a small noise that somehow cut through all the alien voices in the chamber. The room fell silent. Hundreds of alien eyes turned to look at the small human woman. "I have something to say," Sarah announced. Her voice carried clearly in the sudden quiet. The Vorthak speaker made a sound like grinding glass. "The human representative may speak, but please remember that your species lacks experience in galactic affairs." Sarah walked down to the center of the chamber. She looked around at all the alien faces. Some were curious. Most looked annoyed that their important meeting had been interrupted by the pet human. 50 years ago, your ships found Earth," she began. "You told us we were too dangerous to join galactic society. You said our weapons were too primitive, our technology too simple. You made us promise to stay in our own solar system. You told us this was for our own protection." She paused, looking directly at the Zephyrian war leader. "We agreed. We said we would follow your rules. We kept our fleet small. We used only the weapons you approved. We stayed home like good little humans while you ran the galaxy." The chamber was completely silent now. Even the constant humming of the Etherians had stopped. "You called this wisdom," Sarah continued. "You said you were teaching us to be civilized. We called it courtesy. We were being polite guests in your galaxy." She turned to face the main viewing screen, where images of burning Aldorian cities still played. "But now we have a problem. The Chromark think your weakness makes you easy targets. They see how you handle threats with strongly worded letters and economic sanctions. They think you are prey." Sarah's voice got harder, colder. "They are about to learn what real predators look like." The Vorthak speaker made an angry grinding sound. "The human speaks out of turn. Your species has no understanding of proper warfare. You have fought no galactic conflicts. No, Sarah agreed. We have not fought any galactic conflicts, because you told us not to. Because we were being nice. She smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. We are done being nice. She activated her communicator. The device projected a hologram that filled the air above the chamber floor. It showed a star map of local space with the Cromark Empire marked in red. Their ships were moving toward more peaceful worlds, leaving trails of destruction behind them. This is your last warning, Sarah announced to the entire chamber. The Cromark Empire will be stopped. The people they have killed will be avenged. The worlds they have burned will be rebuilt under proper protection. The Etherian representative made a whistling sound of confusion. What does the human mean? Earth has no military capacity beyond their home system. Sarah's smile got wider. You really believe that? After 50 years of watching us, you actually think we stayed home and did nothing? She shook her head. You have no idea what we have been building out there in the dark. She deactivated the hologram and looked around the chamber one more time. The Cromark laugh at threats from what they call a single system species. They think humans are weak because you told them we were. They are about to discover the difference between being weak and being patient. The Zephyrian war leader clicked angrily. This is impossible. We monitor all human activities. Your people have no secret weapons, no hidden fleets. You monitor what we let you see, Sarah replied calmly. Did you really think a species that fought world wars with atomic weapons would spend 50 years sitting quietly in one solar system? Did you think we would just accept being treated like children forever? She walked toward the exit, her footsteps the only sound in the massive chamber. At the doorway, she turned back one last time. We tried to be your neighbors. We wanted to be part of your galactic community. You preferred to keep us as pets. Her voice carried clearly to every corner of the chamber. The Cromark want to make us slaves. Now you all get to meet us as we really are. The doors closed behind her with a soft sound. The chamber erupted in alien voices, all talking at once. Some were angry, some were confused, some were frightened. But Sarah Chen was already walking back to her ship, preparing to return to Earth. She had delivered the warning. What happened next was up to the galaxy. But the time for talking was over. Humanity had been patient for 50 years. They had followed the rules, played the game, and stayed quiet while the galaxy burned around them. Now it was time to show the universe what Earth had been doing while everyone else was watching. 3 massive Cromark dreadnoughts dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. Each ship was the size of a city, covered in weapons and armor. The Cromark Empire had decided to make an example of the humans who dared to threaten them. They expected this to be easy. Commander Thrak stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the small blue world ahead. His 4 arms gestured at the tactical displays while his red eyes gleamed with anticipation. The Cromark looked like giant lizards that walked upright with thick scales and razor-sharp teeth. Scan the system, he ordered his crew. Find their pathetic defense fleet so we can destroy it quickly. The scans came back strange. There were ships in the system, but they looked like civilian vessels, mining platforms around the asteroids, research stations near the outer planets, some kind of industrial complex on the moon. Nothing that looked like military ships. Are the humans hiding? Asked his second-in-command. Thrak laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. Probably. These soft mammals have no honor. They make threats they cannot back up. He opened communications to broadcast across the entire solar system. His voice boomed through space, reaching every human settlement. People of Earth, you will surrender now. Your ambassador made foolish threats to the Galactic Council. You will learn the price of defying the Cromark Empire. The response came from an unexpected source, not from Earth, but from what the scans had labeled as a mining station near Jupiter. A human voice, calm and steady. This is Admiral Marcus Torres, commanding the Terran Defense Force. You have entered restricted space without permission. Leave, now or face the consequences. Thrak stared at his displays in confusion. The voice was coming from a mining platform. The scans showed nothing but industrial equipment and processing facilities. Where is your fleet, human? We see only civilian installations. You are looking at our fleet, Torres replied. Thrak was about to respond when his sensor operator made a sound of alarm. Commander, the mining stations are changing. On the main screen, the asteroid mining platforms began to transform. Metal panels slid away to reveal massive weapon batteries. Industrial arms unfolded into gun turrets. What had looked like ore, processors were actually the largest cannons Thrak had ever seen. Impossible, he whispered. The changes spread throughout the system. Research stations near the outer planets opened like mechanical flowers, showing their true nature as weapons platforms. The industrial complex on Earth's moon split apart, revealing orbital defense grids that turned space around the planet into a maze of weapons and shields. But the real shock came when space itself seemed to ripple. Ships began appearing where nothing had been moments before. Massive vessels uncloaked one by one, their stealth systems shutting down. They were huge, bigger than the Chromark dreadnoughts with designs that made no sense to alien eyes. "How many ships?" Thrak demanded. His crew worked frantically at their instruments. 50. No, 100. Commander, I count over 300 ships. And they are still appearing. Admiral Torres's voice came through the communications again. For 50 years we built these ships in secret. Hidden shipyards in Jupiter's radiation shadow, where your sensors could not see. Assembly plants in Saturn's rings, disguised as research stations. We used the time you gave us well. Thrak tried to process what he was seeing. 300 human ships, each one larger and more advanced than anything in his fleet. Weapons that his instruments could not even identify. Technology that should not exist. "You have 10 seconds to leave our system," Torres announced. "After that, we will show you why humans used to fight wars with atomic weapons." Thrak's pride overcame his fear. The Chromark Empire did not retreat from anyone, especially not from a species they had been told was primitive and weak. "All ships, attack formation, destroy these humans." The 3 Chromark dreadnoughts charged forward, their massive engines pushing them to attack speed, their weapons powered up, ready to rain destruction on the human fleet. They never got the chance to fire. The human weapons did not shoot energy beams or explosive missiles. Instead, they fired something that made reality itself twist and bend. The space around the first dreadnought began to dissolve. The ship's armor simply stopped existing, molecule by molecule, as if it was being erased from the universe. The second ship tried to dodge, but there was nowhere to run. Human weapons tracked it perfectly, and the massive vessel came apart like it was made of paper, not destroyed by explosions, just taken apart at the atomic level until nothing remained but empty space. Thrak watched in horror as his flagship, the pride of the Chromark fleet, began to dissolve around him. The metal walls flickered and faded. The control panels turned to dust. His crew screamed as they realized what was happening to them. The attack lasted exactly 17 seconds. When it was over, 3 of the most powerful warships in the galaxy had simply stopped existing. No wreckage, no debris, just empty space where they had been moments before. Admiral Torres opened communications again. This time, his message was broadcast not just to the remains of the Chromark fleet, but to every communication relay in the galaxy. Every world, every ship, every government would hear what he had to say. "This is Admiral Marcus Torres of the Terran Defense Force, speaking. To all civilized worlds in the galaxy. For 50 years, Earth has followed the rules imposed on us by the Galactic Council. We kept our fleet small, our weapons conventional, our expansion limited. We did this not because we had to, but because we chose to be good neighbors." His voice carried clearly across space, reaching worlds hundreds of light years away. "The Galactic Council called this wisdom. We called it courtesy. We tried to be part of your community. You preferred to treat us as pets who needed protection. From the big scary galaxy, on Earth's moon, huge doors continued to open, revealing more weapons than any single world should possess. In the asteroid belt, mining ships shed their disguises to become destroyers. Near the gas giants, research vessels transformed into carriers that launched swarms of fighters. "The Chromark Empire wanted to make us slaves," Torres continued. "They thought we were weak because the Council told them we were contained to one system. They were wrong. We were never contained. We were just being polite." Images began broadcasting. Throughout the galaxy, human installations that had been hidden for decades revealed themselves. Weapon platforms that could crack planets. Ships that made dreadnoughts look like toys. Technology that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Every human diplomat was actually an intelligence officer, Torres announced. Every cultural exchange was reconnaissance. Every trade negotiation was strategic positioning. For 50 years, we have been watching, learning, and preparing for this moment. On worlds across the galaxy, aliens stared at their screens in shock. The humans they had dismissed as primitive and harmless had built the most powerful military force anyone had ever seen. And they had done it right under everyone's noses. "We tried to warn you," Torres said, his voice carrying a note of sadness.
"Our ambassador told you what would happen if you did not stop the Chromark. You chose not to listen. The Chromark chose to attack us. Now you all get to see what we have been building while you were not paying attention.
The message ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. On Earth, people went about their daily lives as if nothing had happened. But around them, the largest military force in galactic history stood ready for war. The Cromark Empire had wanted to conquer Earth. Instead, they had awakened something that had been sleeping for 50 years. Something that had been waiting patiently for the right moment to show the galaxy what humans could really do when they stopped being nice. The war was just beginning. And for the first time in their history, the Cromark were afraid. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in front of the biggest communication array on Earth. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes, the type of person who looked like a friendly grandmother. The aliens had always seen her as harmless, just another human scientist studying boring things like culture and history. They had no idea she was the head of the Terran Strategic Institute. They did not know that for 50 years, she had been running the largest intelligence operation in galactic history. "Begin transmission," she said quietly. Her image appeared on screens across the galaxy. Every major world, every government building, every military command center received her broadcast. She smiled gently at the camera, the same warm expression she had used in dozens of diplomatic meetings. "My name is Dr. Elena Vasquez," she began. "Most of you know me as a cultural researcher. I have attended your conferences, studied your histories, and written papers about your societies. You have been very helpful in sharing your knowledge with me." On the Vorthak homeworld, crystal beings stared at their screens in confusion. The human looked so harmless, so ordinary. How could this gentle scientist be connected to the terrifying weapons they had just seen? "I want to thank you for 50 years of cooperation," Elena continued. "You have taught us so much about your species, your biology, your psychology, your technology, your military capabilities. Every conversation, every meeting, every cultural exchange has been very educational." The truth was starting to dawn on alien leaders across the galaxy. This was not just a friendly human scientist. This was something much more dangerous. Elena's expression did not change, but her words became colder. "You see, Earth did not just build ships during our 50 years in this system. We built understanding. We studied each of your species in detail. We learned how your bodies work, how your minds think, how your societies function." She gestured, and new images appeared on screens throughout the galaxy. Detailed biological charts showing alien anatomy, psychological profiles explaining how different species made decisions, technical specifications for every major piece of alien technology. "The Zephyrians are vulnerable to certain sound frequencies that disrupt their nervous systems," Elena explained calmly. "The Etherians can be contained by manipulating the atmospheric pressure in their environment. The Vorthak crystal structures resonate at specific wavelengths that can shatter their physical forms." Panic was spreading through alien governments. How could the humans know these things? These were classified military secrets known only to each species' highest security levels. "We also learned about your economies, your trade routes, your political systems," Elena continued. "Did you know that if 3 specific shipping companies stopped operating tomorrow, the Etherian food supply would collapse within a month? Or that the Zephyrian hive networks depend on communication relays that can be disabled with the right electromagnetic pulse?" She paused to let that sink in. "Of course, we would never use such knowledge to harm peaceful species. We are not like the Cromark, but it is good to be prepared." The implications were staggering. For 50 years, the humans had not just been building weapons. They had been preparing for war with every species in the galaxy. They knew exactly how to defeat anyone who might threaten them. "The Cromark Empire believes they are fighting a single-system species," Elena said. "This is incorrect. Let me show you the truth about human expansion." The star maps that appeared next made alien military commanders gasp in shock. Red dots showed human colonies scattered throughout supposedly empty space. Worlds that the galaxy thought were uninhabited actually housed secret human settlements. "We have been very quiet neighbors," Elena explained. "Our colonies are small and well hidden. We terraform lifeless worlds, build underground cities, establish self-sufficient communities. We do not take anything from anyone. We just make sure we have places to go if staying in Sol becomes impossible." The Galactic Council had restricted humans to their home system, but humans had never agreed to stay there. They had just been careful not to get caught expanding. "Currently, humans live on 47 worlds in 12 different star systems," Elena announced. "Our total population is not 3 billion as reported in council records. It is closer to 30 billion. We have been growing and spreading while you were not watching." Alien intelligence agencies frantically checked their records. How had they missed entire human colonies? How had billions of people remained hidden from galactic sensors? The answer is simple, Elena said, as if reading their thoughts. We are very good at staying hidden. We build underground. We use natural caves and asteroid interiors. We mask our heat signatures and electromagnetic emissions. We learned these techniques from watching how you track other species. She smiled again, that same gentle expression. You taught us how to be invisible by showing us what you look for. The broadcast continued with more shocking revelations. Every human trader who had visited alien worlds was actually a spy, gathering intelligence and mapping defenses. Every human student who had attended alien universities was stealing scientific knowledge. Every human tourist was conducting reconnaissance. We are not proud of the deception, Elena said. We prefer honesty and cooperation. But you made it clear that humans would not be treated as equals, so we adapted to the situation you created. The final revelation was the most terrifying. Elena activated a holographic display that showed the true scope of human military power. Not just the fleets they had revealed in Sol, but hidden bases throughout human space, weapons platforms in asteroid belts, stealth ships patrolling empty systems, manufacturing centers churning out advanced technology. The ships you saw at Earth represent approximately 10% of our current military capacity, she announced, calmly. We have been building for 50 years. We have had time to do this properly. She gestured, and the display showed fleet positions throughout the galaxy. Human ships were already in position near every major alien world, waiting for orders. They had been there for years, hidden and patient. The Cromark Empire has committed their entire fleet to attacking human space, Elena continued. This was a strategic error. While they are busy with our Sol Defense Force, our other fleets are free to visit their homeworlds. The transmission showed live images from Cromark space. Human ships were already attacking the Empire's core systems, not with the reality warping weapons they had used at Earth, but with conventional explosives and energy beams. They were being merciful to civilian populations while systematically destroying military targets. We do not want to conquer anyone, Elena explained. We want to stop the Cromark from hurting more innocent people. Once they surrender, we will help rebuild the worlds they destroyed. We will make sure this kind of aggression cannot happen again. She looked directly at the camera, speaking to every alien leader in the galaxy. We tried to be your partners. You chose to treat us as children. The Cromark chose to treat us as enemies. Now we are showing you what we really are. The broadcast ended with a simple message scrolling across screens throughout galactic space. Earth warns the galaxy only once. We are done being nice. In the silence that followed, alien governments began to understand the new reality. Humanity was not the weak, primitive species they had believed. They were something far more dangerous. A species that combined advanced technology with the patience to plan for decades and the intelligence to succeed without anyone noticing. The galaxy had spent 50 years teaching humans how to be better predators. Now they were going to learn what those lessons had created. The Etherian Congress met in emergency session, their gaseous forms swirling frantically in the great chamber. Speaker Zaith's voice whistled with panic as he addressed the assembly. The humans are not what we believe them to be, he announced to the floating representatives. We must form an alliance immediately. Every free world must unite against this threat. Similar meetings were happening across the galaxy. The Zephyrian hives buzzed with urgent communications. The Vorthak crystals rang with alarm frequencies. Independent worlds called for help from anyone who would listen, but every attempt at cooperation failed before it could begin. On the Etherian homeworld, Speaker Zaith tried to contact the Zephyrian Queen Mother, using their most secure communication channel. The connection opened normally, but instead of the Queen's voice he heard something impossible. Hello, Speaker Zaith, came a human voice through the supposedly alien-only network. This is Captain Diana Okafor of the Terran Strategic Corps. I am afraid the Queen Mother is busy right now. Can I take a message? Zaith's gaseous form rippled with shock. How are you accessing our secure channels? This is impossible. Actually, it is quite easy when you designed the encryption algorithms, Diana replied cheerfully. Dr. Martinez from our mathematics division solved your security protocols about 15 years ago. We have been listening to your private conversations for quite some time. The realization hit Zaith like a physical blow. You have been spying on us for decades. Yes, but we prefer to call it staying informed, Diana said. By the way, Your plan to form a military alliance will not work. The Zephyrians cannot spare ships because their outer colonies are currently under attack. The Vorthak are too busy dealing with sabotage in their crystal networks to help anyone else. As if to prove her point, reports began flooding into the Etherian chamber. Zephyrian military bases were exploding across their empire. Vorthak communication systems were failing mysteriously. Other species were reporting similar problems with their most critical infrastructure. You are attacking everyone at once? Scythe whispered. Oh no, Diana laughed. We are not attacking you at all. We are simply turning off the back doors we installed in your technology over the past 50 years. The truth was worse than any direct assault. For decades, human scientists and technicians had worked alongside alien engineers on various projects. They had helped design communication networks, defensive systems, and industrial equipment. Every time they helped, they had quietly included hidden access codes in the programming. Now those backdoors were being activated all at once. General Patricia Kim stood in the Human Strategic Command Center on Luna, watching displays that showed the chaos spreading through alien space. She was a tall woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. For 30 years she had been planning this moment. Status report, she requested from her staff. Zephyrian military communications are down completely, reported her intelligence officer. They cannot coordinate their fleets. 3 hive worlds are already requesting terms for surrender. Excellent. What about the Vorthak? Their crystal networks are experiencing cascading failures. When one node goes down, it overloads the others. They are basically deaf and blind right now. And the Etherian Congress? Still trying to form alliances, but nobody can talk to anyone else. Their secure channels all route through human-controlled relays now. Kim nodded with satisfaction. This was exactly what they had prepared for. Not a war of destruction, but a war of isolation. Cut the enemy's communications, disable their coordination, make it impossible for them to work together. What about independent worlds? She asked. 17 have already declared neutrality. 23 more have requested protection under human authority. Only a few are still trying to resist. Kim walked to the main display, which showed a real-time map of the galaxy. Red zones marked areas where the Chromark had previously attacked. Blue zones showed human-controlled space, which was much larger than anyone had imagined. Yellow zones indicated neutral or surrendering territories. The Chromark? She asked. Their main fleet is still trapped in Sol system, fighting Admiral Torres. Their homeworlds are under siege by our secondary fleets. Emperor Vracht is demanding negotiation. Not yet, Kim replied coldly. They started this war by burning peaceful worlds. They can sit in their bunkers and think about that for a while longer. She activated the communication system, sending a message to every government in the galaxy. When her image appeared on alien screens, she wore the crisp uniform of the Terran Military Command. I am General Patricia Kim, Commanding Officer of Human Strategic Operations, she announced. I want to address some concerns that have been raised about recent events. Her voice was calm and professional, like a teacher explaining a lesson to confused students. Several species have asked how humans could have infiltrated their most secure systems. The answer is simple. You invited us in. She gestured, and the display showed historical footage of human-alien cooperation projects. Scientists working together on research stations. Engineers collaborating on new technologies. Cultural exchanges where humans learned alien computer systems. Every time you shared knowledge with us, we shared knowledge with you, Kim explained. Every joint project was an opportunity for both species to learn. You learned about human determination and creativity. We learned about your weaknesses and blind spots. The images showed human technicians working on alien equipment, human scientists studying alien biology, human diplomats observing alien political processes. In every case, they looked helpful and harmless. We did not steal your secrets, Kim continued. We simply paid attention when you showed them to us. We remembered things you forgot you had told us. We made connections you did not think were important. She paused to let that sink in before delivering the real blow. For example, did you know that every species in the galaxy makes the same basic error in strategic thinking? You all assume that other species think the same way you do. The display showed tactical analyses of different alien military strategies. Zephyrian swarm tactics that worked well against other insects but failed against human dispersal patterns. Etherian gas-based weapons that were useless against humans in environmental suits. Vorthak crystal armor that could not stop human kinetic weapons. The Chromark made this mistake when they assumed we thought like them, Kim explained. They believed that military power was about having the biggest ships and the most destructive weapons. They were wrong. Military power is about understanding your enemy better than they understand themselves. She activated another display showing the current state of the Cromark Empire. Their worlds were cut off from each other, their fleets scattered and confused. Human ships moved through their territory like ghosts, striking exactly where defenses were weakest. "We know how each species fights because you taught us," Kim said. "We know how each species thinks because you showed us. We know how each species breaks because we studied your histories." The message was spreading panic through alien governments. How could they fight an enemy who understood them better than they understood themselves? "But this is not about conquest," Kim continued, her voice softening slightly. "This is about ending a threat to peaceful species. The Cromark Empire will be stopped. Their capacity for aggression will be removed. The worlds they destroyed will be rebuilt." She looked directly at the camera, speaking to every alien leader, watching. "We do not want to rule you. We want to protect you. From the Cromark, from other aggressive species, and if necessary, from yourselves." The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. Across dozens of worlds, alien governments realized they faced a choice. They could surrender to human authority, or they could continue fighting an enemy who seemed to anticipate their every move. Most chose surrender. The few who tried to keep fighting discovered that humans had been preparing for this war longer than some civilizations had existed. Every strategy was countered, every tactic was anticipated, every move was blocked before it could be made. The galaxy was learning that humanity had not spent 50 years hiding in their home system. They had spent 50 years becoming the perfect predator, designed specifically to hunt the species who thought they were superior. The hunt was almost over, and the humans had barely begun to show what they were really capable of. Emperor Vrakth of the Cromark Empire knelt in the ruins of his throne room, his massive scaled hands shaking as he signed the surrender documents. Around him, his once mighty palace was filled with human soldiers who had appeared from nowhere, moving through his most secure defenses like they were not even there. "The Cromark Empire formally surrenders to the Terran Protectorate," announced Colonel Sarah Martinez as she accepted the documents. "Your military forces will be disbanded. Your weapons will be destroyed. Your people will be relocated to designated worlds where they can live peacefully." Vrakth looked up at the small human woman with hatred burning in his red eyes. "My people are warriors. We will never accept this humiliation." Sarah's expression did not change. "Your people are bullies who pick on those weaker than themselves. You will learn to be something better, or you will remain under supervision until you do." Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. On world after world, governments that had opposed humanity were laying down their arms. Some surrendered willingly, understanding that resistance was hopeless. Others had to be convinced by demonstrations of human military superiority. The Galactic Council building on Nexus Prime was being renovated. The great chamber where aliens had once debated endlessly was being transformed into something new. The circular seating arrangement was replaced with a more practical design. The ceremonial decorations were removed in favor of functional equipment. President Michael Zhang stood at the podium where alien speakers had once made their lengthy speeches. He was broadcasting to every world in human-controlled space, which now included most of the galaxy. "Citizens of the Terran Protectorate," he began, his voice carrying to billions of beings across dozens of species. "Today we begin a new chapter in galactic history. No longer will aggressive empires be allowed to burn peaceful worlds. No longer will bureaucratic delays prevent action against genocide. No longer will the strong be permitted to prey on the weak." Behind him stood the new Galactic Administration Council. It included representatives from every species, but the humans held the final authority on all major decisions. The aliens could advise and debate, but humans would decide. "The old Galactic Council system has been dissolved," Zhang announced. "It was a system that allowed evil to flourish while good people debated proper procedures. We have replaced it with something that actually works." He gestured to display the new governmental structure. Each species would maintain internal autonomy on their own worlds, but interstellar policy would be determined by human administrators. Military forces would be controlled directly by the Terran Defense Force. Trade and communication would be regulated by human oversight committees. Species that cooperated with us during the recent crisis will be granted maximum self-governance, Zhang explained. You will manage your own affairs with minimal human intervention. Species that opposed us will be administered directly until you prove you can be trusted with independence. The Cromark fell into the second category. Their worlds were now under direct human military occupation, with human governors replacing their former rulers. Cromark children were being educated in new schools that taught cooperation instead of conquest. Cromark adults were learning useful trades instead of preparing for war. Some species tried one last desperate act of resistance. The crystalline Vorthak, proud of their psychic abilities, launched a coordinated mental attack against human leaders. They had used these psychic weapons to shatter alien minds for thousands of years. No species had ever resisted their power. The attack failed completely. Dr. James Nakamura, head of Human Special Operations, released a public statement explaining why. We have known about Vorthak's psychic abilities for 47 years. We began developing mental defenses immediately. Every human leader, every military officer, every colonial administrator has been trained to resist psychic intrusion. The Vorthak had expected to break human minds the way they had broken others. Instead, their psychic assault was absorbed harmlessly by humans who had been preparing for this exact attack since they first learned it was possible. The Vorthak are now experiencing what we call psychic feedback, Nakamura explained calmly. When their attack failed to penetrate human mental defenses, the energy rebounded back to them. They will recover, but it may take several months. In the sea, their crystal cities, Vorthak leaders writhed in agony as their own psychic weapons destroyed their ability to think clearly. The proudest psychic species in the galaxy had been defeated by humans who learned to build walls in their own minds. Ambassador Sarah Chen walked through the corridors of the new Protectorate headquarters, no longer the ignored representative of a primitive species. Now she was Colonial Administrator Chen, one of the most powerful humans in the galaxy. Alien officials who had once looked down on her now waited nervously for her approval on basic policy decisions. She paused at a viewing port that looked out over the capital city. Below, construction crews from dozens of species worked together to rebuild structures damaged in the war. Human supervisors directed the work, but aliens provided most of the labor. It was a fitting symbol of the new order. Administrator Chen, came a voice behind her. She turned to see former Speaker Zyth of the Etherian Congress. The gas being's form flickered nervously as he approached. Yes, Speaker, she replied, noting that he still kept his old title even though his government no longer existed. I wanted to ask about the integration programs for young beings. Zyth said carefully. My people are concerned about human education methods. Sarah smiled. Your children will learn alongside human children and the offspring of other species. They will study science, mathematics, history, and ethics. They will learn to cooperate, instead of competing. They will grow up understanding that the galaxy belongs to everyone, not just the strongest. But what about our cultural traditions? Zyth asked. The peaceful ones will be preserved, Sarah assured him. Art, music, literature, philosophy, all the beautiful things your species has created. But the traditions that taught your people to see others as inferior or expendable, those are finished. She looked out at the construction work again. Your people will have a place in the new galaxy, Speaker, but it will be as partners, not as rulers. Zyth's gaseous form shimmered with what might have been relief. Thank you, Administrator. We will try to be worthy of this second chance. After he left, Sarah continued her walk through the building. In classrooms throughout the Protectorate, alien children were learning new lessons. On former Cromark worlds, young beings who had been taught that conquest was the highest virtue were discovering the joy of building things, instead of destroying them. The final scene of the transformation was taking place on a small world that had once been a Cromark military base. The weapons factories had been converted into schools. The barracks had become housing for families of mixed species. In the playground, human children played alongside young Cromark, their scales bright with health and happiness. One of the Cromark children approached a human teacher, her small clawed hand raised with a question. Teacher Maria, why did my parents' generation fight so many wars? Teacher Maria knelt down to the child's level, her expression gentle and patient. They forgot something very important, little one. They forgot that being strong means protecting others, not hurting them. Your people were very strong warriors, but they used their strength in the wrong way. And now humans protect everyone? The child asked. Now we all protect each other, Maria corrected. Humans, Cromark, Etherians, everyone. That is what families do. The child nodded solemnly and ran back to play with her friends. Around her, beings from a dozen different species laughed and played together, their differences a source of wonder rather than fear. Above them, Human patrol ships maintained their watchful presence. The galaxy was finally at peace, but humans would make sure it stayed that way. They had warned everyone what would happen if the peace was broken. They had kept that promise once. No one doubted they would keep it again if necessary. The message was clear throughout the galaxy. Humanity had given everyone a chance to coexist as equals. When that was rejected, they had imposed coexistence through strength. Perhaps someday, if the other species proved they could be trusted, they might earn partnership again. But the galaxy would never again mistake human patience for human weakness. The lessons had been taught. The peace would be maintained. And somewhere in the dark between the stars, human ships continued their endless patrol, making sure that the galaxy remained a place where gentle species could live without fear. Earth had warned the galaxy once. Now they would never need to warn anyone again.